prominence. The reason for that prominence is because all of a sudden, some IT professionals, some IT scholars decided to go back to that definition of engineering as converting technological know-how to social gain. And that is why everybody see the power and the potential of IT today, and it's coming out of what we call the fourth industrial revolution. Why? All they did was to apply. There are so much social problem, and some people said no, rather than live within the confines of the elite, let's go out there, let's solve as much social problem as possible with IT. That was the first step they took. The second step they took was, to optimize those inventions and those know-how for affordability. So they did two things. They decided to address the problem, and secondly, they optimized for affordability. So if you see that stride that we've had in the information technology world, that gives you the idea of why we need to be talking about research, why we need to be talking about research and development today. The full sense of me going into that. We see the need, for that. In civil engineering, we need to do the same thing in mechanical engineering. There's very wide ambit for application of what we have known. And the irony of it is, no matter where you go, no matter the advances we are making in engineering today, the basics that were taught in our undergraduate day are still very much relevant. But there are some misnomers. I've just shown you one of the ways that if we overcome this misnomer, how we could make life so easy for human beings, how we could shoot ourselves into relevance. But the misnomer is immediately people hear about research or research, a career in research. The first thing that comes to mind is academic. That is another misnomer. When you talk about opportunities in research and development, the next thing that comes to mind is academic. Do I want to be a lecturer? And let me tell you this, especially in Africa here, in African context, I am situated in Africa. If you want to study for money, stop at your master's degree. That is what you're studying for. We always joke that you study too much that you're now studying to become poor when you go beyond your master's degree. But the fact is, when you look the world over, even right here in Africa, when you look at research pattern in academic, when you look at the research career generally, when you look at the pattern, it has been changing over time. Right now, for academics, for university, we are having oversupply of PhDs. Whereas in the industry, there is growing demand in the industry for academics. For research, for people with research competence. So for you as a professional engineer, what will a career in research do for you? What is research? You growing your research competence, what will we do? What will it do for you? I'm sorry to say this for our engineers on the field. Many of us will disagree, but I tell you, you are all being sub-optimized. We are all being, majority of you are being underutilized. The solutions you deploy today is being determined and is subject within the restriction and limitations that are imposed on you by vendors. Even within IT. To a very last extent, vendors determine the solutions we can deploy, what we know. And what are vendors giving us? Vendors want quick solution, they want money. The first thing, any commercial vendor, any technological vendor wants is money. So if this solution works, gives us the money, get the work done, they stay there. And they give you the impression in the industry, this is where you can, this is the best you can get. The good thing is many of them, in order to optimize their own social gain, they keep on doing R&D in the back door. But because you do not know where to look for solutions, there is so much solution that has been deployed by researchers. That's another problem in research. We do research for the 90% of the research we do in academia today, or in the research world, I don't want to use that word academia. I work in the university, but I'm not an academic. the solution are very, very limited. So if we want to improve our practice, we need research. And I will say come to that. I will say come to the pathway for such research. We need research if we want to develop our capacity and we want to develop our practice as professionals. We need research. We need a lot of it. Research could do a lot for us. A lot for us. Let me give you, I don't like doing this, but let me give us a personal experience. I work on with a team of academics. It's a multidisciplinary team. I work on a team where we are located in a business school. But if you have a first degree in business, a master's in business, and a PhD in business, it will be very, very hard for you to be a part of my group. Nobody wants you. You want people with cross-disciplinary background. So we are a group of researchers. Almost everybody on the group has got at least a PhD. Some of us with multiple master's degrees. I think we have somebody with multiple PhD too on the group. But what do we do? I said we are not academics. What do? We work with municipalities, what you call local government in Nigeria. We work with local governments to do what? To solve problems, any challenge they are facing. We want to do water supply today. We're having a peculiar challenge with water supply. We find solutions for their engineers. Tomorrow, it is farming. Last 1 year, I've been dealing with a region in the country where the effect of climate change is so harsh that you can't just go behind your house and plant. And this is a place where you have a teeming population of very poor people. So how will they farm? How will they do subsistence farming? And we are giving them creative solutions. They are looking for solutions. Cheap solution. That is what we do. So I'm telling you, like 8 people with PhD, nobody is teaching, nobody is writing papers. Yeah, part of our mandate is to write paper, but to help those people. That's just an example of how improving your research competence could improve your professional practice, could solve social problems. Now, the question is, if I say, let's bring this home. You imagine you and engineer Idris, I see it's so bad that whether you're a mechanical engineer, I know you're not a chemical engineer, I know the chemical engineers here, you're not a mechanical, whether you're mechanical or ECE, no, you are ECE, come on. So ECE. Imagine you working on a solution and you can call the engineer the one, or Dr. The one, I've done A, B, C. What else can I do? This is what I want to achieve. Even with that, just from collaborative point of view, and you'll be surprised, you'll be amazed at the amount of solution, things you will do easily on your laptop that it can recommend or it can point you to. That there are other ways aside from the known and the popular way of doing it in the industry. But these things, like I said, they are sub-optimized. They are just lying on shelves. They're lying, in libraries. So, my point today is for us to improve our technical delivery, we need to be researchers. Now, what does it take to be a researcher? There are 2 pathways to researchers. To being a researcher, one is the technical one, and one is the non-technical. The non-technical one is just for you to know where to look for the answer. And I'm sure the other speakers will speak to that. Know where to look for the answer. If you have a problem today, what will you do? You type www.google.com. And you're going to find a lot of technical fora where guys will give you alternative ways of doing it. Where many of us have exploited this, and we still do. But that may just be a first step. That may not even be where you should be looking when you're looking for a unique solution. Within the same Google, the easiest thing you can do in life is there's something known as Google Scholar. Type Scholar, S-C-H-O-L-A-R in Google. Then type that problem you are facing and you'll be amazed. And the good thing with engineering literature is most of the journal articles you are going to find there, a lot of open access. You don't need any special access to access them. Secondly, they are very short. 5-8 pages, and you are getting very unique solution. You are getting the secret behind the industry solution that you know. So one way is to know where to look for the answer, or to have somebody who could find the answer for you. I remember in my early days as an engineer, before I saw the light, let me provoke you. Before I saw the light and stopped being an engineer, I remember the first guy I worked with in the paint industry, in the paint laboratory, and my GM, head of our development team, happened to be a civil engineer. And I was marveling, how come this guy is coping? And I remember my first meeting with him. We told him, I was, Mr. Ojugbele, I was told you are a chemical engineer. Yes, that is good. Sure, yourself, why should you be reporting to me, a civil engineer? But let me tell you, I've had 35 years of engineering practice across the world, and I'm sitting here. This is a retirement for me. But let me tell you this. As far as I'm concerned, what I've learned in over 3 decades, that a brilliant engineer is not that guy who has got all the theories in his head, because he can't afford the theories in his head. But a brilliant engineer is he who can look at a problem, know the type of answer that is needed, and he knows where to find the answer. So for everyone here today, I'm saying we need to optimize our capability to know where to get the answer. That is the first step of being that is the first layer of being a researcher. Know where to get the answer. And if you want to go the technical road, then take up a postgraduate study. Your first line outcome when you go beyond your first degree for a good postgraduate study is you want to be equipped with the research capability in that area. How do you research in that area? How do you research in that area? And we see when we talk about career and research, I'm sure many of us, you may not be comfortable with what I'm saying, that we're asking this guy to talk about research opportunities and nursing research, career. Because even the word career, when you go into the literature, the word career has changed and it keeps changing. The word career is one very funny thing that is taking up new meaning every time. It keeps on taking new meaning. Currently today, and that is where I'm sitting, people will tell you that career is anything, or career advancement is anything that gives you satisfaction and the liberty to do what you want to do. Yeah, that gives you the liberty. That is career progression for you. There could be many definitions, but for me, I'm looking at it this way, that at least the first thing is let's optimize what we are doing. And another thing research does for you is it's open your eyes and tell you I could do better. It open your eyes and tell you what other things can I do? How much can I contribute to the advancement of humanity? Starting from yourself. And let me round up this session by saying, when we talk about research and development, it goes beyond engineering. And there is a misnomer out there. Once people hear the word R&D, the first thing that comes to mind is engineering. Same thing we are saying, everything I've been saying equally applied to the social sciences. The policy that you should be locked down, because of the pandemic, where is it coming from? Okay, that's the technical. All the policy that governs you, all the laws that govern you, where do they come from? We have in social science, we have we tell you the research is either basic for knowledge. You want to explore, you want to know more about the existing theory in a field? No. Go to the next level. And the next level is you do applied research. This is when you go into the analysis of a specific national or regional problem or regional issue and find solution. And that is the basis of policy making. R&D in social science, one obvious application of research and development is policy. I was still working on something yesterday for another university where government in South Africa says, okay, we have been training engineers to go out and look for a job. We want to stop that. So I participated in a work where, like 4 years ago, they said, no, whatever you do, entrepreneurship and business management is a core component of your curriculum as an engineer. So whatever I was working, I said, okay, we've been doing this. Let's evaluate it now. Let's do impact assessment, not even evaluating. Let's do impact assessment. And the first stage is, our engineers, are they thinking like businessmen, or they are looking to get, they are still looking to get work. They want to embellish their, their CV and get work. So the amplitude for research and development is very wide there. So my point is, take one thing away from me. One thing the competence in research will do for you is you become a better version of yourself, regardless of your field of endeavor. You become, because you're going to know the reason, research exposes you to the knowledge behind the knowledge. So you don't just take and consume whatever is being thrown at you. You get knowledge behind the knowledge. And like I said, you can still do it by knowing where to look for answer. That is the non-technical approach to research. Or you want to take up a postgraduate study. I think somebody will be talking to you because of this event about short courses and options. A good postgraduate study is expensive, but at the same time, if you know the trade, you may not spend a dime. You just need your brilliance as a lasso trained engineer, and the world will be your oyster. Thank you very much. Jazakumullahu khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very, very much, my distinguished Dr. Bode Ojugbele. You see, when I started by saying that Dr. Bode Ojugbele is a distinguished and amiable scholar. You see, one thing I know about the men of God, they don't enjoy praises, even though all the accolades are in them. But they always like to push everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I consider that as humility, respect for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you very much. You have been able to delve with the topic extensively. We really appreciate that. And in a nutshell, you have been able to educate some of us that are in academics, whether a master's, who of course is looking at taking a PhD research course. Now, this would be like a guide for him to know whether to go into a technical research or a non-technical research. Whichever one you are going into, how do you now convert whatever you have as a researcher into an entrepreneur game? Which of course a lot of people don't know. Like you rightly said, I can't imagine that an engineer will graduate from a university, an engineer will graduate and will start looking for a job. So I am really glad that the world is now looking into a way of trying to convert your engineering knowledge, your technical knowledge into an entrepreneurship where you can also be an employer of labor. Thank you very much, my brother. At least personally, I have gained a lot in this presentation on how an engineer can start, whether an engineer or a scientist can beginning to think like a businessman. Thank you very much. And I say, Jazakumullahu khairan wa khairan jasa. I want to enjoy our participants. Whatever question you have, whatever comment you want to make, contributions, and you can kindly send it personally to me so that after the discussant has finished talking to us, then we can now, bring it. I will be bringing them. We are bringing it one by one to them for them to respond. Once again, my brother, I thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, I am going to call on our next discussant. Unfortunately, I am sure maybe I have not met him before, but my able brother, Dr. Ojugbele, has succeeded in exposing him to me, especially his knowledge base in this area. And that is my brother, Dr. Sharafaddin Tunde Abdulaziz. I welcome you on board, my brother. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to enrich you in knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to enrich you with good health. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to protect you for Islam, inshallah. And I pray Allah should endow you and all our Muslim scholars with long life, prosperity, and good health. Like I said in the beginning, I am always happy when I see Muslims striving doing very well in everywhere, wherever they find themselves, because it is a blessing for Islam. And well, one statement says, "Matul ulama, dulmatul din." Yes, we are going to die one day, but may Allah strengthen our Muslim scholars. May Allah give them good health. May Allah elongate their life in peace and in good health, so that Islam can benefit. Islam can have people that will stand to defend Islam when the need arises. Thank you very much, my brother. And Dr. Sharafuddin, you are the next discussant to give us, to educate us. So you have 15 minutes, my brother. Thank you very much. You have the floor.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making it possible for us to gather here this morning. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make whatever we are going to discuss today an uja for us on the day of judgment, and not an uja again. Without wasting our time, I will quickly go through the topic of discourse this morning, which is creating awareness on how to get funded postgraduate programs. And we are just trying to give a summary because it's actually a very robust topic. But looking at the time constraint, I will just give a summary of how to actually achieve that objective of securing the funded postgraduate programs. And part of what is going to be discussed is how do we find opportunities, and what are the ways in which we can explore those opportunities. Then also we are going to discuss where we can actually get some of those opportunities, and I'll also share some of my personal experience and advice, inshallah. But let me first start with, why do we need a funded program? Why not talking about getting admission in order to proceed into an MSc program or a PhD program? Then also, why do we actually want to get out of the country as Muslims? Then we need to get the facts right. We are not getting out of the country because we want to escape from the hardship that is presently going on in the country. Meaning that we need to have the proper orientation of why we want to actually get out of the country. To some people, they are actually going out of the country to look for greener pasture. Why to some, they are finding means of moving away from the family due to their disturbance and some other reasons. We need to get the reason right because if we are unable to get the reason right before leaving the country, then automatically we are not going to achieve more when we find ourselves outside the country. And we may not be able to get the knowledge that we intend to get or we want to pursue. We may not be able to get the right knowledge when we find ourselves outside the country. So getting the right orientation that I'm going to seek for knowledge in order to assist the Muslims, that should be the first. Then the second is that I also want to contribute to knowledge, because the earlier Muslims, they have actually contributed their own quota and they've gone. So what is going to be my own contribution? What will people remember me for? And that is why I will also want to toe the line of the moderator by saying that when you are going into research, is either you want to go and contribute to an existing knowledge, you want to push it forward, or you are coming with a novel idea. You are bringing something new. And this is the time that we can test the capability of the Muslims when we find ourselves in a very tight situation. COVID is around, it's affecting everybody. Whether you are an engineer, or you are a scientist, or you are an entrepreneur, or you are a medical scientist, it's affecting us. So we need thinkers, we need researchers, we need people that can help us out of this problem. So we need funding, and we need funding because of 3 reasons. Number one, getting a admission abroad always come with a huge tuition fee. Like someone will always say that except you are super rich, except you belong to the people in the politics, that you'll be able to afford tuition fee, especially when you get admission for a PhD program, is always very, very expensive. And that is why some people, when they find themselves in the academia, they always want to get either TET fund or get something in order to be able to survive during that their program. The number 2 reason is that part of the visa requirements for you to get out of the country is that you must be able to show proof of funding, that you are capable of sustaining yourself in the new environment you are going to. So if you can't prove that you can't sustain yourself financially, automatically no government of any country will issue you a visa. So that is number 2 reason. The number 3 reason is survival. The cost of living when you leave the shore of the country is always very expensive, very, very high. I always share my experience with my brothers at home that the rates at which I get my accommodation in Nigeria, I paid yearly. I can use that amount to pay for my accommodation for just 1 month abroad. So meaning that the amount that can take you to rent an accommodation for 1 year in Nigeria is sometimes it may not even be enough to pay for your accommodation when you find yourself outside the shore of Nigeria. So you need a stabilized source of income, or let me say source of funding. And that is why for some of us that are considering traveling out for a master's program or a PhD program, we need to first get this right. And in some situations, they always tell you that funding is even more important than you getting admission. So not just say that, oh, I got an admission to study so. Then how will you sustain it? Then if you now have your own family, then it becomes worse, because you'll be able to, you always want to look for a way of catering for your family, and at the same time you want to pursue your career goals. So those are the 3 reasons why securing funding is very, very important, even more than the admission that we plan to get. And there are 2 types of funding. I just want to classify them into 2. The first one has to do with advertised funding, and these sites are published in the national dailies, or you have it online or published by some other websites. These are regular advertisements for funding, and is always attached to a particular program. And I would discuss one of the implication of getting an advertised funding. It comes with its own disadvantage and advantage. One of the disadvantage of getting an advertised funding is that it's always attached to a project. For example, I want to become a neuroscientist, and there's the funding in maybe another aspect of medicine, which is not what I intend to do. But looking at the criteria, I look at it and say, oh, I'm qualified, but this is not what I want to do. But the funding is available. So that is why most of the time people always feel reluctant in applying for advertised scholarship, because sometimes it always comes with its own challenges. Then number 2 is non-advertised funding. This non-advertised funding has to do with in a situation whereby you have to approach a faculty member and discuss about your interest in pursuing a research program. And if that faculty member has some grants, then you'll be able to like support you from the grants in order for you to be able to complete your program. Then let me quickly switch back to the first one, advertised. That advertised source of funding, I will first start with the environment in which we find ourselves, which is Nigeria. We can find example of advertised funding in PTDF. For those of us that actually wants to like further our studies and we are thinking that, oh, we don't have the support, the financial support to execute that. So we can watch out for PTDF. And we also have the federal government's bilateral scholarship. We've had brothers from University of Lagos that have benefited from this set of scholarship. So we also have scholarship from companies, especially for us in engineering. We have ExxonMobil, we have Total Fina F, we have Ajip, we have NLNG. So those are the ones that we can explore within the Nigerian environment. And we have examples of brothers that have actually gotten those scholarships and they are actually doing their program abroad. Then to the other side of it, when we are considering abroad, what are the types of advertised scholarship we can get abroad? So sometimes it has to do with location. Most of the time, the advertised funding always come from the Middle East. The universities or institutions in the Middle East, in UAE, we have the Masdar, we have the Petroleum Institute, PTI, we have some other schools in the UAE that normally published their scholarships. Then we also have in the Saudi Arabia, whereby we have King Fahd University of Mineral Resources, Petroleum and Mineral Resources. So they do have a regular advertisement of scholarship. We have King Abdulaziz, we have King Abdullah, University of Science and Technology, and we also have some other universities in the Middle East. We also have in Qatar, university whereby they normally do regular publishing of funding opportunities. So what we should do is always to be on the look. We should always be on the lookout for those advertised scholarship. It's just like someone who actually lost something very precious to him. And you always look for a way of getting that particular thing back. As Yoruba people, we always say that Iwakuwa, Lamanwa and Kodoba son. So we should always be proactive when we are searching for funding opportunities. So that is for the advertised scholarship. Then for the non-advertised scholarship, there are two forms of non-advertised scholarship. The first one, there are some institutions whereby as you are submitting your application for admission, then you'll be considered for scholarship at the same time. So you are not submitting any extra documents for scholarship. So your application for admission will be used for scholarship consideration. Schools in the US normally do that, and some schools in Canada also, they normally do that. Then why on the other side, we have a situation whereby we need to first speak to someone, maybe like a faculty member, and you speak to the person, you send your documents, you look at the area of research the person is actually doing and see how you two can contribute to that. So if the faculty member has some funding in place, then it can probably inform you to go ahead with the admission process, get the admission, then you can also have the funding with you. There are different types of funding. The first one I want to talk about is scholarships. The second one, we have assistantship. And that assistantship can be in two forms. It's either you have teaching assistantship or you have research assistantship. Then the third one is fellowship. Is also another form of funding. Then the fourth one is bursary. They use that a lot in South Africa. And the fifth one is probably award, maybe award of excellence. And for all those type of funding opportunity, they are more or less the same thing. The good thing is that we are having money to take care of our academics and for survival. So be it scholarship, be it assistantship, whether teaching or research, be it bursary, be it fellowship, be it award, it actually has to do with money for us to be able to move on with our career. So the most important thing we now need to do is to check the eligibility criteria. Am I eligible to apply for this? And when you check the eligibility criteria, then you should be able to send an outstanding application for such funding. Make sure you prepare yourself, make sure you get all the necessary documents, make sure you get all the necessary recommendation if that is going to be part of what is going to be required. Just make sure you send a very high quality application, because most of the time you are not just competing with people in your location, because you're also competing with people from other countries, like people from the Chinese, for example. They are everywhere. And the same thing applies to the Indians. Very intelligent sets of people, you find them everywhere. They are very smart. So when you are thinking, or maybe when you are preparing your application for a scholarship, just have it at the back of your mind that you are competing with the best in the world. People with excellent results, people with excellent CGPA, people with excellent standardized exam. So, and that should also propel us to be able to do the right thing when we are preparing our documents. And I would want to say that this idea of getting a non-advertised scholarship is also applicable to some other countries. Like in the US, most of the time is either you speak with a faculty member, or you go to the university website, you check the admission requirements, then you also check for the funding opportunity. Most of the time, universities do have a section on their website whereby they will tell you that so amount of funding is available for this program. Sometimes they will tell you that, okay, 75% of the people considered for this program always get funding. In some situations, they will tell you that 100% of people that are able to secure admission will always get funding. While in another situation, they will tell you that, okay, this program will only be funded after the second year. So this program will only be funded after you've completed your first semester. So sometimes it do come with different dimension or different modality. But the most important thing is that, okay, funding is guaranteed. Then I can move on with my studies. So this type of funding or whatever is normally applicable to the people in the US, US universities and some schools in Canada. There's some schools in Australia and New Zealand. But for Europe is quite unique in the sense that maybe I will just share some of my little experience specifically in Germany and Norway. There may be little of Sweden. In Germany, there is this general website that people normally explore in order to look for opportunities. And that particular website is called DAAD, which is DAD. They call it DAD.de for international programs. So most of the time we have scholarships being posted on the websites for different programs, different scholarship, different funding. Sometimes it may be tuition free. Sometimes we have to pay something, maybe a semester fee just to do your semester registration, which is sometimes maybe around 500 euro. And that is the end. Then sometimes it may come with some stipends. You are not going to pay your tuition fee, and at the same time, you'll be getting some stipend from the university or from the government. Why in another situation, you can have a situation whereby you have a funding, maybe a research institute like Max Planck, and Max Planck can have a program. Maybe they have a project that they want to embark on, and there is already a grant that they can use to fund the project. So in that case, they can ask students to apply for PhD program or for an MSc program, and the student will be funded from the money from the grants. So that is the two forms of funding that do normally available in Germany. Sometimes it can be industry. Sometimes it can be industrial-based funding. Maybe there is a project, a collaboration between an institution and one particular company, and they have a funding that is available. Then one can also apply for that type of funding. Sometimes the students can also apply for grants. So you may decide to write a proposal that, okay, I want to actually research on this and I need this funding. So you submit a grant proposal for that particular work you want to do, then you get funding for that. In Norway is a little bit different. PhD position especially is more or less like a job. When you want to get an opportunity to do a PhD, they give you the contract as if you are going to be employed, and you'll be paid for the duration of the period for 3 or 4 years. For MSc is just the normal admission, but for PhD, it comes with funding. And that is why if it is not assured of where you are going to get funding from in order to support the program, they are not going to issue admission letter for you. So it is only when you can say that, okay, this funding is available, university is going to sponsor me, or there is a particular company that wants to sponsor this particular research program, then it is until you are able to prove that they will be able to get you admission letter. Why for masters? Masters is just a straightforward thing. Only that in most tuition-free countries, or let me say institutions, especially in the Scandinavians, like Finland, Norway, Sweden, then maybe Denmark. Once you have a tuition-free program, the chance of you getting funding for other things is always very difficult. For example, they said, okay, tuition-free, you are not paying tuition, you are not paying registration, you are not paying semester fee. So just come around for the program and continue. So in that situation, it's always very difficult to get funding in order to support yourself for upkeep. And why in the US, you can, for most MSc students, they do get either teaching assistantship or research assistantship or something, bursary or the like. So that is why sometimes people tend towards going to the US, Canada, Australia than going to the Europe, because in the Europe, you getting funding is very slim. But in America, you pay tuition, but you can get your money back. And at the same time, you can also get some other things doing. Then in Germany, most of the time, the training that has to do with technical trainings, for example, engineering training. If you find yourself in a situation whereby you have opportunities of applying for engineering management training, and you are told that, okay, you are not going to pay tuition fee or whatever, people are always skeptical going for such type of training, because what they normally believe is that after you finish the training, especially when it comes to management, arts, and the likes, then it may be difficult for you to move forward. You know, some people, you can just say, I want to go and do MSc, then you finish your MSc. Then after you finish your MSc, what next? After you finish your PhD, what next? So that is why when you are making the choice of how to get funding, then you have to consider the location you are going to. After you get your admission, you finish your program. So what next do you want to do? So for a non-engineering or a non-technical program, then Germany is a little bit not too okay. I don't want to say it's not okay. You get the knowledge, you get the first-hand knowledge, you get the first-hand information. But you know, the chance of you proceeding to the next level may be difficult. And that's why sometimes when you do a management training or whatever in Germany, you have to move to another country. But if it is a technical based program, like core technical program, then you will be able to like, okay, let me move forward to the next level. You get job easily for most people that study technical engineering program in Germany. And I would also like to tell us that research these days are interdisciplinary research, in the sense that sometimes before we used to have chemical engineering, but today we can have IT being incorporated into chemical engineering. And the same thing applies to mechanical engineering. Before we talk about pure mechanical, but now we are talking about IT. We are talking about management. We are talking about GIS, Geographical Information System. I have a friend that studied surveying and geoformatic informations. Now he's working presently in criminology, which is Faculty of Arts. An engineer which is using his engineering knowledge, GIS, in predicting location where crime can actually take place in the community. So research these days are tending towards being multi-dimensional, cross-discipline fields. So that is why whatever we want to do, we should also give that space. Don't just say that I study electrical engineering, because sometimes you can have opportunity in mechatronics, mechanical and electronics. So we now say, oh, I can't fit in. No. So we're having Industry 4.0. We are having artificial intelligence. We are having, so all those things, even if you study Yoruba, they will still tell you that you can apply artificial intelligence in that Yoruba field that you find yourself. So we should always prepare ourselves for that kind of research. And I'll quickly run, because of my background, I have background in electrical, materials, mechanical, marine, and the likes. So I would like to just limit my discussion to that particular field. There are some areas in mechanical that one can explore. There are new fields that one can explore in order to get funding, or let me say funding most of the time always present in that particular area of mechanical engineering. Let me first start with the area of renewable energy. Globally, the world is moving from the conventional energy to the renewable energy. So that is why these days research on renewable energy keeps getting funding. So if, for example, I want to study, I'm a mechanical engineer and I want to do a master's or PhD in hydraulics or in another field, maybe design, it may be difficult for me to get funding because that is not the trend. That is not what is in vogue. So I can decide to say that, okay, but what is the trend globally in this particular field that I want to go? And understanding of the trend in that field will make you to plan yourself, plan your application, and it will even make it easier for you to get funding. So some of those areas are in the area of material science. In the area of material science, where we talk about nanotechnology, nanomaterials, we talk about polymer, and we also talk about manufacturing, or let me even say additive manufacturing. Then composites, in the area of composites. So that particular aspect, then there's more research, more funding in that particular field of mechanical engineering. Then secondly is the area of computational mechanics, or let me say computational engineering. You find out that in some part of the country, let me use Sweden, for example, all the laboratory testing that one can carry out in the lab, you can also do the same thing on your laptop, in your system, using different softwares. You can carry out different testing, test-site testing, you can do it on your system, you can do the simulation using different software. You have different one, Abacus, you have Mac, you have this, you have that. So while in those part of the world, especially in the Europe, like Sweden, even in Germany, Denmark, they normally carry out a lot of computational work. So it's also a field whereby if you can explore or you have some training in that particular area, you'll be able to get a funded program. Then I also want to talk about railway engineering. Railway engineering may not be common to us in this environment because Nigeria is not yet in that level. But a time is going to come that we are going to find ourselves there. But when you travel to in Germany, for example, you cannot do without it. You go through tram, you go through the normal local, regional train, and interstate and inter-region train. So their major mode of transportation is by train. And that is why they spend a lot of money on the maintenance, on the technology in that particular sector. So railway technology is also an area in which we can explore. Then also sustainability engineering. Sustainability engineering is also
Dr. Sharafaddin, please check
okay.
your screen.
Okay, sir. Okay, so sustainability engineering is also what we can go through or we can study, because every aspect of engineering, we are now talking about sustainability. How will it be sustainable? Electrical sustainability, mechanical sustainability. And inshallah, I'm going to round up. I'm going to stop here, and then maybe during the course of the interaction, question and answer, then we'll be able to address some of this topic. I'm very sorry for taking more than the allotted time.
Just round up.
Amen. Now, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Sharafuddin. When Dr. Dubele said that he's only going to do a summary, that a competent able that are specialty in this area will come and bamboozle us with knowledge. I think you have been extensively. I really like and I enjoy the pattern of the discussion. The engineer Ojugbele was able to give us a comprehensive knowledge in an area, and you have been able to give us a comprehensive knowledge under the same topic, but in a different area entirely, and especially for those of us that will be seeking and that are currently seeking for PhD funding opportunities. Advertised funding, and we have non-advertised funding. And of course, the advertised funding we know, like the PTDF and the likes. And the non-advertised funding, we have the teaching assistant, we have award, we have scholarship, we have fellowship, we have I think there are about 5 that you gave us, and you now took each one after the other, from Germany to, and of course, website where we can get PhD funding opportunity, like the DAD, Norway, Sweden, and things like that. Honestly, this is an area where we actually need to. It's quite unfortunate that because of time constraint, we are supposed to have maybe an hour for our discussion to really give us details of what we need, because a lot of people are having serious problems in how to choose a research area. Like you rightly said, advertised funding we only narrow in an area which might not even be an area you actually want to go into, but because the fund is available, you just want to like, okay, let me just take it because of the funding. And of course, a lot of people don't even know where to look for fund, decide to look for fund, and how to go about it. So this is a topic which we really need to really sit down and enjoy it quite well, but because of the time constraint. And inshallah, maybe during that, question and answer and comment and contribution, there are another opportunity will be given where you can give us more knowledge. And of course, even after this section, sir, I will be happy if we can have your contact, your details, so that whoever that is interested in knowing more can personally reach you for knowledge and how, of course, guidance on how to go about a lot of these things. These are things that we need to be, having from time to time for our Muslim brothers who, of course, want to go into things that they don't even know how to go about. Some don't even know how to start. Talk less of, dwelling in it. Thank you very much, my brother. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless your knowledge, put barakah in your knowledge, give you long life, give you peace of mind, so that the Muslim Ummah, community, and Islam will benefit immensely from your knowledge. Jazakumullahu khaira, my brother. May God continue to bless and protect you. Thank you very much for that. Now, the next on the line, supposed to be our able sister. There is a saying that what a man can do, a woman or a lady can do better. I agree with that. God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed ladies in a special, unique way. The same women that will be attending to the domestic affairs, looking after the children, looking after the husband, looking after extended family, taking care of the home chores and things like that. And of course, thinking about career. A man only knows how to pursue career and make money. But Allah has blessed women in such a way that they can diversify into several areas. And that is why we cannot leave them away in a situation like this. But unfortunately, I was made to understand that Dr. Kafaya Shobo Ali is having some kind of technicalities in connecting to Zoom. So in that regard, probably maybe our next section that will come up July 15th of July. We really want to hear her speak, to come and bamboozle us with knowledge. So in the light of that, I want to call on my brother Gbolahan Ayetoro, to take a position and present to us, educate us, enlighten us, and give us a direction of how to tap harnessing opportunities in academia and research. Quite a lot of them. So, my dear brother, Gbolahan Ayetoro, are you with me?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you are welcome on board, my brother. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to protect you. And I pray that you continue to be a blessing for Muslim and for Muslim and Islam. My brother, you have 15 minutes. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Firstly, I want to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making it easy for me to be part of this gathering. And also I want to thank Allah on behalf of the organizers for being able to package this program. And for every one of us that are attending, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to make this a means that will be beneficial for us both in this world and hereafter.
Amen.
So I just want to.
1 minute, brother. 1 minute. Sorry.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't know most of you start. So I am sorry not to have had a doctor. I just saw it now in your presentation. PhD. I am very sorry. So as a way of correcting myself, I present to you Dr. Gbolahan Ayetoro. Please pardon my ignorance. Thank you.
Hey, Oga Idris, that guy, no be any doctor. You know him. Ask him to show his face. You know him very well. I want troublesome boy. You know him very, very well. Very well. I want some person. You know him very well. Ask
Okay,
sorry,
sir.
Okay. So, thank you. I would just want to.
Dr. Gbolahan,
No.
somebody just send me a private message now that they would like to see you. They would like to see you, that you should activate the camera.
Alhamdulillah. So, I want to kind of add to what has been said and perhaps provide some other dimensions to what has been said so far. Basically, I always say that research is problem solving. I think the concept is we want to solve problems, but we want to solve a problem in a way it has never been solved. Sometimes we leverage on what has been done or methodologies that have been used or existing knowledge. But the key thing is we want to solve a problem in a new manner, or we want to solve a problem that have never been solved before. So, and in the concept of doing that, we have professors in universities who have quote unquote funds available and the guidance to provide somebody that wants to fill into a position of either a PhD student or a master's student or a postgraduate student as a whole or research fellow. And the concept is at the end of the day, such a person is to produce a knowledge, a new knowledge. And for us to establish that it's a new knowledge in the academic world, it means it has to be published. If it's not published, and it's as good as useless. So at the end of the day, what we want to borrow is, do I have a career in this path? Can I fill in this question mark? And the same way we see job seeking, getting a job in the industry or labor market, I think many of the speakers have talked in this direction. The same way we should be seeing being a research student or being a postgraduate student, which is a means to being a researcher or a consultant or a problem solver, depending on which field we want to be. So the key concept here is somebody is needed to fill in this gap. A professor in a university, yes, he has several years of experience in research, but he's not ready to do the research. He's not ready to go and dig out literatures and see what is happening and identify problems holistically and solve the problem and create new knowledge or publish this. It needs somebody to fill in that gap, and that's where we come in. And I think sometimes we believe we don't have what it takes to do it, and we underestimate ourselves. And I think that's one of problems why several people that have potentials of doing postgraduate or research have failed to do. And other reasons are kind of might be attitude basis. It might be the fact that we're not determined enough to do it. But the key concept is also, it could be a kind of having the wrong orientation, which has been pointed out earlier. It doesn't have to, I don't have to be an academic doing a postgraduate. What I need to do is, I just need to have this journey of knowledge in order to prepare me for problem solving, problems that have not been solved before, problems that have been solved, but they have not used certain methodologies, and I want to try it out. And this sometimes relates in the business world as well. It's the same concept. So I see the need for many people to venture it if you are willing to. But the key to this is one have to have the passion for it, because sometimes it tests our endurance. And if you don't have the endurance to go into the research world, it can be frustrating. Especially, it's not like business. In a research world, sometimes the outcome of research is failure. And sometimes the outcome of research can also be success. But the key thing is you need to understand what we are doing and be ready to be able to defend it in a scientific manner. So some key concepts I just want to talk about is this. In research world, it can be scientific and it can be applied science. What do I mean by scientific? So if I want to do a research, for example, it's majorly, I want to be able to add a new knowledge. I'll give you an example, maybe a 5G, because I'm into telecom, so I give an example of 5G, or for example, Internet of Things. I might decide to create a new protocol that does not exist. Well, yes, there's 5G now, but all the areas have not been addressed. There's still areas that people can contribute. For example, resource management protocols and things like that. So if you have somebody that wants to create a new protocol, then becomes scientific knowledge, scientific contribution. And I can also do research in applied science. For example, Internet of Things, it exists. But now I'm not creating a new protocol in Internet of Things architecture. But what I want to do is I want to use the Internet of Things to solve a problem, for example, in a rural or remote area. We are saying Internet of Things, but not all telecoms operators would put a base station or a collection of base stations in a remote area, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up economically or technically for them. So is there a solution? Can I create something else and still solve the same problem and have Internet of Things in remote areas or rural areas for agricultural purpose or some other purpose and still solve a problem? So that's applied science. Now I'm not adding a new protocol, but I'm solving a real life problem using existing knowledge. It's also a research domain. So these are things we need to kind of clarify, in the sense that people sometimes think everything is about science, scientific. It could also be applied science. So you have to identify who your supervisor is and what it wants, and what do you want as well, and find a relationship or connection between this. Key things you would have to do is concept paper, research proposal. For business guys, you write technical proposals, or you write business proposal. Key thing you need to be able to do in order to be a researcher is you need to be able to write a concept paper and a research proposal. A concept paper is a mini research proposal, and here you are trying to create problem statements, methodology. You're trying to talk about how you're going to solve these problems. What are your aims and objectives of what you want to solve, and in a way, what are going to be the outcomes or possible outcomes of this research? These are things we want to do. And sometimes we underestimate the knowledge, like Dr. Ojubile said. Whatever we've learned in LASU, whether we crammed it or we were not taught, or we are just told that this exists, they are useful. They are very useful. But because we don't often see this, then it becomes a problem. And I was given an example when I was doing lecturing fundamental of communications. We model communication systems as a linear time invariant system control. But we did this, but we never appreciate this. And I would appreciate this. And when we do this in class, students see the mathematics. Yes, it becomes theoretical to them. And immediately they implement this mathematical model and load it onto a kind of software-defined radios. And they're able to send signals from one radio to the other, and they see it in the lab, they appreciate it, it syncs. So that's the missing gap. So it's not that those maths does not make sense. They make sense and they're useful, but we are not appreciating them because we are not designing a radio network system or a communication systems that would make us appreciate them. So in terms of methodologies, is that we're doing an experimental research, or simulation-based, we're simulating on a computer system, or we're using an analytical method, using mathematical method. And or we're combining two or more of these. And I'm saying this so it prepares us of what lies ahead in terms of when we want to do research. or if I really have a career in this part, or if I have what it takes to do this. So funding opportunities, I won't waste time on this. My brother has mentioned this. We can kind of get funding from external institutions. Unfortunately, we're coming from a country where things are not the way it's meant to be. There are several external institution funding that are available, but a common Nigerian does not know it exists. Some fundings, I only know it exists when I go to South Africa and I was doing my PhD. For example, Erasmus Mundus. It exists for Nigerians, but you don't know it exists. But yes, things are getting better these days because there's social media, there's this and that. We are aware of what funding is available. But these external institutions are available to provide funds for sub-Saharan Africans, for Nigerians, and also some are not are for the whole world. So it depends on how we analyze this opportunity. But the key thing I want to point out here is the fundings that with respect to supervisors. Some of us, we want to do research, or we want to do a PhD, we want to do a master's, and we send a mail to a supervisor that we want to do research, or we're interested in a topic. But the first thing we are writing about is about funding. And the supervisor will look and say, oh, what is this? Because the basic thing is you're creating an impression that the funding is even more important than the research you want to do. So he's not too sure of what kind of student are you going to be. If you just want to come and get the money, or do you want to really come and do the research? So the first point of email you want to send shouldn't be talking about funding at all. You should majorly be talking about your background, who you are, and you will have read his CV, you will have read his research, you will have understand what he or she is doing as a researcher. And you're talking about your interest in his area of research, or how amazed are you with respect to what he did in a particular research work or publication he did a few years ago or very recently. That would really make him or her connect with you to see that yes, you have something, or you are interested in a project he's working on. Then you can now move further on that. But in most cases, we don't do that. And sometimes we just we attach our resume. You think you want to look at your resume for the first time. No, the brief first 3 paragraphs, the first paragraph to introduce who you are, the connection with him, and your interest, and your openness to other further research opportunities would really make him connect to your heart, connect to you, and you can now move further from there. So this is fundamental with respect to getting a supervisor towards getting funding as well. But you first have to get his acknowledgement or a connection between the two of you. This is very fundamental before you start to talk about funding. I would scan through this. These are areas people are aware of, but my point is that don't know what is current, know what is important. Any research you're going to be doing has to be recent. Any research that would have funding has to be recent. It has to be where we are heading to. And the key thing here is that anything you want to talk about now, it has to be artificial intelligence or machine learning inclined. Even in telecoms, if I want to do for example, next generation wireless networks, it has to be AI based. Every protocols or algorithms that are going to be running on next generation wireless in telecoms have to be AI based. If, for example, I'm proposing something new with respect to even the next generation 5G, 6G, because 6G is what the research is going on now. You have to make it inclined to artificial intelligence or machine learning. So this is fundamental. This is key. And I put climate change is an important area that also there's a lot of investment in. Climate change as a whole, but there's several technologies that would hit climate change, for example. So in telecoms, for example, you want to build energy harvesting solutions as a means of in your network, or you want to introduce energy efficient algorithms. So these are inclined to climate change. That means you're reducing power consumption at base station levels or at different levels. So these are fundamental. And I include COVID because now there is not just fund with respect to research in COVID areas, whether it links with technology or electrical engineering, or electronic engineering, but as well as even with respect to publications. If journals are willing to listen to any fast track research review process with and that has to do with COVID. So you can create a niche around that as well. But a key thing is it has to be recent. It has to be looking at the future. If you're going to be thinking of funding, you can't be working on LTE or 4G and say you're doing a research in telecom at the moment. No, nobody would listen to that. So this is fundamental. And finally, there are several opportunities to get fundings. I put some links here for if people are interested. The first two links relate with Canada, for example. MyTax is a site for innovation. So there are several innovation projects that.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Excellent.
Please, can you make this presentation available to us, please? This PowerPoint presentation. Can we have it after the?
Inshallah, I will.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So MyTax provides is a platform for innovation. So if a company thinks of any innovation, it puts that innovation idea there and it asks for researchers. And this researcher can be master's, PhD, or a postdoctoral research fellow. So if it's an interesting area you want to look at, website you want to look at, EduCanada is majorly for scholarships for both Canadian and non-Canadians that wants to do research in Canada. The NRF is the website for research in South Africa. They have some fundings, though few, but majorly for South Africans, but some fundings for non-South Africans as well. Then we have in Europe Erasmus Mundus, for example, that they are funding some research and they're doing some joint research master's program as well with African and Europe-based joint master program, and that is funded. So these are opportunities for us to look at. It's not easy to get those funds, like the previous brother said, Dr. Sharafuddin, because they're competing with others across the globe. But it's doable, it's possible, and I think that's one of the reasons of putting this program together, that we should pilot this towards the next phase where people that are of interest or that are interested in pursuing this path we can easily look together on how to move forward with respect to all these bottlenecks or challenges that can be encountered. We'll pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it an easy one for us. So that's where I want to stop, and I hope I've been able to shed more light with respect to funding research or research possibilities as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khairan. And well, the little knowledge I have in time management, I want to say, if I have a prize to give out, I think that prize will go to my brother Ayetu, because even without notifying him of the time he has spent or the remaining time left for him to speak, he was able to summarize within the time given to him. I say, Jazakumullah khairan. But even though you have been hiding, thank God for the person that provided me that. Please tell that brother to unveil his face. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khairan. Like the other two discussants, you have also been able to shed light, to increase our knowledge in the area of opportunities that are available in academia and research. And in summary, you are able to tell us the funding opportunities that are available in various websites. You've been able to tell us the research problems. I mean, of course, that research is just about solving problems. Either you want to add to the existing knowledge or you are coming with a new knowledge entirely. And of course, in the slide, I was able to see the research content. And that is why I appeal on behalf of participants that you make the slide available to us so that we can really enjoy, because I saw a lot of things there which I will really love to critically look into them. The research concept, a better way to write research, a research proposal that when you present it, the supervisor will not only be saying that your interest is the grant, but your major interest is the research that you want to do. The pattern of writing such research versus applied sciences, concept paper, research proposal, research methodology. Of course, there are several methodology in research environment, like we have the experimental, it could be experimental method, it could be simulation, it could be analytical. Then the funding opportunities could be external institution, university supervisor, and the research area with funding opportunities. Like you rightly said, researchers, supervisors. Of course, when you're talking about research, you are talking about the synergy between the institution and the industry. The industry are ready to fund research, which of course they know will contribute immensely to their strategy. So the funds are available to release. But where are the areas? A lot of people don't know the areas they are supposed to dwell in. People just think that, okay, let me just write a proposal I want to do. They don't know the reason why they want to go into such research area, how to go about it, because the kind of research paper you are presenting will determine whether that fund will be available, even if the fund will be available, whether the people that have the grant will be interested in what you are bringing on board. Because whatever you are bringing on board, if it is what is currently trading, nobody's interested. Because you have to be able to connect between the present and the future. The area the industry is going now, what is the future of what they are doing? So you must be able to convince them that what you are bringing will, of course, will create a link between what they are currently doing and what they are looking at in future. Thank you very much, my brother. It's been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful presentation from our three discussants. And honestly, like I said, I am always very happy when I see Muslim brothers striving in whatever area they find themselves. I am happy. I am happy. I am happy. Like there was a time I went to somewhere, and the first thing I asked was, where are the Muslim brothers here? And honestly, the Muslims that I found in that place, they made us proud. They made Islam proud. I am always happy. And that is a challenge for the other non-Muslim, that gone are the eras where they can intimidate the Muslim by whatever means. The Muslim of today are prepared. And by the special grace of God, we'll ensure that we prepare our children for tomorrow, so that anywhere they find themselves, they can be a blessing to the Muslim and to Islam. I am really very happy. Thank you very much, our discussant. Thank you very much once again. Jazakumullah khairan. May God endow you with good knowledge, protect your knowledge, and protect you and your family, give you good health, and so that you'll be useful to Islam and the Muslim. Thank you. Now, the section we are now, I have been seeing a lot of questions and answers here. So I am going to read them while our discussants, one after the other, you look at it and provide answers to them. The first one is from anonymous attendee. I don't know whether he or she, but the question goes thus: can I go for PhD with only BSc and MBA? That is the first one. Can I go for PhD with only BSc and MBA? So, Brother Ojugbele, salam alaikum. Brother Ojugbele. Brother Sharafuddin. Brother Sharafuddin, are you there?
Yes, someone will come to life.
Well, did you hear what I just said?
Yes, yes.
And the question goes, it said, can I go for PhD with only BSc and MBA?
I was blind. From my own experience regarding BSc and MBA, there are some institutions whereby if your first degree is not in line with your second degree, then you may find it difficult getting a PhD admission. For example, in some universities, in the US, part of the requirement for PhD admission is that they will set a target for the BSc and the MSc. So they will tell you that, okay, if you want to pursue a PhD in chemical engineering, you must have a background in so discipline, maybe civil, chemical, and mechanical for BSc. Then a related discipline in MSc. Then before you be qualified for PhD admission. Now, maybe what the person actually is trying to ask is having a professional MBA, or let me say having a professional MSc.
MSc, exactly.
Masters, yeah. So if the person has a BSc in management or in a related field, then MBA is going to be an added advantage. I know someone with a professional MSc from UI who actually did a PhD in South Africa. So in some countries, there is no disparity whether you did a research or a MSc in a particular field, or you did a professional master's. They don't discriminate of what type of MSc you actually have, in as much as it is in line with what you've been doing from the BSc or what you intend to do with the PhD. So they don't actually discriminate. So it now depends on the country and the requirements. But I know someone that did a PhD in South Africa, University of Johannesburg, with a professional MSc in engineering.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, my brother. Brother Ojugbele. Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Yeah, you have the floor.
Yeah, on that question, I think there could be different scenario. It will depend on what the person wants to do. Basically, in very conservative university, I will not even see it as a national issue. In Nigeria, it's a national issue. That scenario, even if you want to do a PhD in business admin in Nigeria, you may not get accepted with your MBA. But if you go out of the shores of Nigeria in more progressive climb, one, there's something that is known as Doctor of Business Administration. We have professional PhD. And now having a professional PhD doesn't take anything away from academic rigor of your program. What it simply means is, at some point, there's a point of departure where somebody who is doing a PhD, an academic PhD, is now focusing. There should be a component of your research that looks into the philosophy of knowledge. You doing a professional PhD, you will be looking into the practice implication. That is just the difference. The concept of Doctor of Business Administration of many of those professional PhDs is still a very broad area. End up doing the same thing. In the business school where I did my PhD, you end up doing the same thing, but you get different certificate. Now, going further into a more progressive area, if you want to do, in top school, in Ivy League schools, for example, if you have a very good mechanical engineering degree, BSc, and you have an MBA, trust me, you stand better chance of getting onto their PhD program, though many of them will take you through the MPhil route. You have better chance than an engineer with BSc mechanical engineer and MSc mechanical engineer, because they will tell you you've got an interdisciplinary background. In terms of the social gain of engineering, you are a better place to make that happen because of your MBA. So it depends on you, what you want to do, and where you want to do it. For example, if you are going the route of taking standardized tests, like GRE, ITL test, TOEFL, most top university wants experience, your contribution to your feed, your score, and get you onto their program. Like I said, you may go through the MPhil I mean, MPhil route, you still get your MSc, but it's still within your 4-5 years. So, MPhil, and you proceed to your doctoral research.
No, thank you very much, Brother Ojubele. Dr. Gbolahan, you have the floor, sir. Dr. Gbolahan, salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam. I think the two contributions have addressed the point. I won't want to add more to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I don't know if our discussants have a template regarding universities that allow such admission requirement. Maybe we can make it available. The person asking that question might want, I mean, he might maybe if find himself in that position and is looking for a way for him to get an opportunity, maybe a PhD opportunity or something as regard that. So if you can have a template, maybe you can make it available to us, then we'll put it on a platform that everyone can have access to it. Thank you very much, my brothers. And the second one is that most of the scholarship require students with high CGPA. How can someone with a low CGPA apply for this scholarship or grant? Our discussant, I hope you were able to capture the question. Salam alaikum.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So,
Brother
Ojubele.
Sir, when I answer it.
All right, Dr. Bola, we are here.
Yeah, no doubt. Having a low CGPA, it places you in a disadvantaged position. However, there are several things that can be done to really address that. And I always give options. For example, one of it is to see if possible, you can do a postgraduate diploma program. I'm assuming that person has done a degree and is talking about degree. So firstly, you can just do a PGD program that gives you a better GPA, and they look at that. Or the other option is try in one way or the other to see if you can produce a publication in that field that you're talking of. Yes, it's difficult, but it's doable. And you have a research publication in your resume or in your profile. That also gives you it gives you an advantage. It makes you it gives you an edge. It makes you have a leverage you can work on as well. So is it that you're doing a PGD program, or you're having a publication, or you're also pushing your experience. If your industrial experience is talking to that field in which you want to go and do research. And again, you have the capability to have the research tools that are required. For example, let's say you want to do something that has to do with programming, and you can program well and develop your own simulation or simulator or simulation software, something like that. So that gives you added advantage. So, and sometimes also, we always assume that we just look at CGPA alone. No, sometimes in some universities, the supervisor looks beyond the CGPA. For example, you want to do telecoms. In my research group, for example, we don't look at CGPA. We don't just look at CGPA. We look beyond CGPA. We look, for example, you want to do telecoms. What are your scores? What are your points or your grades in telecoms courses in your transcript? That's why some people want to ask. They ask for a transcript, not because they want to know you can get your CGPA from perhaps from somewhere else, but they want to look at the courses you did. How do you do in mathematical courses? How do you do in telecommunication courses? Because those are the things that would prepare you for the research. So they look at that as well. So it's a combination. I don't want to tell you that lose hope because you have a low CGPA. No, there's still an opportunity by doing PGD program or by doing publication or by pushing your experience in terms of the tools that are needed for the research, that you have this, you have that. And if perhaps coincidentally you have good grades in courses that are relating to what the research you want to do, there's also more chances. I think those are the things I would want to make.
Thank you very, very much. And I hope you have been able to do justice to that question. And if you look at our time, I think Zuhr is fast approaching. So, okay, in addition to, okay. All right. I don't know if any member of the floor, the participants on the floor, have one or two things to add. I've not gotten any signal from anybody. But in line of before that, wa alaikum salam.
I just quickly want to add to what Dr. Bolawan just said.
Okay.
And I would like to contribute from another perspective that if it is advertised scholarship that the person intended to apply for,
okay,
there might be some challenges because of the requirements for and the competitive nature of most advertised scholarships.
Okay.
But if the person is planning to go through unadvertised scholarship, or let me say non-advertised funding, most of the time the admission or the funding community normally review the later part of the year of the degree. For example, if I'm studying engineering 5-year course, I graduated with 2.2. But the problem I had was in my first year and second year. But in my third, fourth, and fifth year, I did excellently okay. And that is when most of the important courses were treated, and I have good results in those parts. Then most of the time, that kind of person may still have opportunity of getting funding and admission, because the later part of the year or of the course, the person actually did very well. And then that kind of person can also get funding or whatever. So for advertised scholarship, it may be a little bit difficult, but for non-advertised or speaking to a supervisor, and if you have good results in the later part of the program, you may still have opportunity of having funding. Then secondly is that the person may also try to rewrite the history. So if doing the PGD, not just doing it, but coming out with good results, something that will be far better than what he had in the first degree. And that will be able to help in eradicating, or let me say erasing, the previous low CGPA. So when people see that new result, they're like, oh, this person is smart, and he can actually conduct research or do very well in his academics. So then lastly, will now be other activities, because what most of these advanced countries normally do is that apart from academic results, what other thing can you do? Are you normally taking part in community engagements? Do you normally take part in NGO programs, community service, volunteering? Then what leadership skill do you have? And lastly is probably research training or academic training. Are you conversant with the academic environment in terms of the language they speak, the way they write, and the likes? Allahu Alam.
Allahu Alam. Thank you very much, my brother. Okay, I think I have one question here again. Okay, what is the person? Okay, they said, what if the person has low CGPA for MSc and want to go for PhD? Our discussion, please. Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
I think the same.
Salam.
I think the same thing applies. If you have a low CGPA in masters, I would advise the key thing is to get research publications, or do a new masters, because so doing a research publications means work together with a researcher, like Dr. Jubele said. For example, I'm looking for a researcher, look somebody who you can be a co-author with and publish. If you publish, you have 2-3 publications, then it appeals to the supervisor that yes, this guy can publish. Yes, he might have a lower grade, but he has the core knowledge with respect to research, and he's able to do research. So that's the key thing. Then secondly is the other option is to do a new master's and you get a better grade in it. So those are the two possible opportunities. Or you want to go the MPhil route. That's another option. But we have to, in this case, it differs on an individual basis. So one will have to look at what kind of situation is the result, what kind of result are we talking about, and see how to go about it. But these are the three or more possible options that are available for such a person.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. With this, I think we have come to the end of this section. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that made this possible should retain our life and give us the good health to witness the next series of July 25th, inshallah. I want to call on Brother Jawandu. I don't know if Brother Jawandu is with us to give us a closing prayer. Brother Jawandu, are you there? Okay. Brother Otun Nuruddin. Is Brother Nuruddin there? Okay. Brother Jubele, please, let's have a closing prayer. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We thank Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who brought us together. We pray that our coming together, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it a source of barakah for all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala barakah in our intention, in the intentions behind this program, and may He put His barakah and let a lot of good things come out of this. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that for every minute we spend on the surface of the heart, it should keep us on the path of Islam. It should make us beneficial to ourselves, to our immediate environment, and to our family, and to the human at large. Subhanallah, Rabbina Izzati Amma Yasifun, Assalamu ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Amen. Thank you very much for that brief closing prayer. But before we go, I think somebody just sent a question now. And I would just want one of our discussants to just, in 1 minute, to respond to that question. And the question goes thus. He said, I am a commercial realtor. I also work with investors to build apartments, to build apartment building and satisfy clients' need. How can I pursue a research or higher degree in this line, despite my background being electronic and computer engineering? Please, in 1 minute, any of the discussants.
Okay, the first thing for you is, what do you want? Research is about your interest. That is the primary thing. What do you want? For example, I will tell you, if you want to have the best of both worlds, talk to Ridwan, go and do a research on something on smart city. It brings together your knowledge, your experience, your experience and potential in the building industry with your background as an electrical engineer. So you can talk to Dr. Ridwan for further guidance on that.
Okay. Thank you very much, my brother. For further question and answer, please, you can reach our brothers, our discussants, and reach them privately. They are good people. They have vast knowledge in whatever areas you want to drag them into. They are a multidisciplinary scholar. And we thank God for their life. We thank God for their knowledge. So please feel free to reach them at any time. And the discussant for July 15, we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spare our life, spare your life, and protect all of us to witness that day and beyond that day, inshallah. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. And I thank our attendee as well. May God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.